Welcome to the Atheist Podcast. I'm Erin.
And I'm Kelley. Atheist is where we will explore American cultural trends through the lenses of a devout theist
and a devout atheist. We will discuss the messiness of being human,
the latest in social science, psychology, and American culture,
and what any of it has to do with Homo sapiens' longtime preoccupation with religion. Hey, Kelley.
Hey, Erin.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. We're sitting here on a very rainy day. But I'm excited because we get to talk about week 2.
Let's get into it.
Okay. So week 2, day 8 through 14, there we cover a lot of ground here with all these little bits of wisdom. So day 8 is decision hunting, choosing a path through the woods. And the idea of, I love this idea just that embracing limitations doesn't mean that we're settling for less. That's kind of the core, and that we need to kind of take and this whole week kind of is really about taking action, right, in spite of things not being perfect. And how do we do that? Because oftentimes perfection can kind of paralyze us, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a barrier for a lot of people. You know, if you have a perfectionist sort of tendency, it's sort of like, that you have to sit on something until it's like perfect to put it out in the world. And that's just, I mean, I definitely know that is not the way to get something done, you know?
Right.
You just sometimes have to be like, just start. You just have to start, you know?
I was, when I was doing a play this past year, and we were at an event and like answering questions, and the person who I was in the play with, somebody, like one of the people asked, like, what is it like to work with one another? And my friend Nancy, who was in the play with me, said, well, the great thing about working with Kelley is that she's not a perfectionist. And I was like, oh, is that supposed to be a compliment? I don't know. I didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't know how to feel about that. But I've since taken that as a huge
it takes all
compliment.
kinds. It takes all kinds.
It takes all kinds. And I am definitely not a perfectionist.
No, and I'm not either. But I know about myself that like I'm somebody who will like push the ball forward. Like I will like let's try, you know.
Yeah.
And have an optimism about, like it might work out. And if it doesn't work out, we're going to have learned something on the journey that will make us better the next time around, you know, and if an opportunity presents itself, like, let's give it a go, you know? And I've found that, I mean, even if it doesn't work out exactly as you hoped it would, you are going to learn a lot, you know?
Absolutely. We have to, right? We have to fail in order to learn. And in this chapter, he talks about this idea that decisions, that making a decision, right, in spite of maybe not having a perfect option, that decisions aren't just things that come along, but they're things that we should go hunting for, that we should go look for the best decision, that we shouldn't just kind of wait for them to kind of arrive to us. And this idea of choosing, and it made me think about, there's a director that I really I wouldn't say I've admired her work because I've only really seen her work like once, but I love her kind of her conceptual work. And in her book that she wrote, she said directing is a dangerous act. And I was always like, what? And she was like, because when you decide that the chair goes right here, it means it can't go anywhere else. So as soon as you make that choice, right, you've like limited all other choices. And I've probably used that anecdote before, but I think that's
I think it's I one time I heard somebody say that I thought this was pretty insightful. He was like, the first thing you have to like when you're this was more in a business context, like coaching
Hmm.
executives to make decisions that like when they are having a hard time making a decision. And so it's like the first thing you should just evaluate is like, is this decision reversible or is it permanent?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if it's a reversible decision, then like
Not
you
too high
don't need to,
stakes.
yeah, you don't have to like know every detail of everything in order to like move forward, right? And if it's
Yeah.
one that is permanent, then okay, well, like let's maybe pull in a few more data points or whatever and to make a
Right.
better decision. But I kind of like that. I was like, that's an interesting way to at least start people thinking,
Just to kind of
get
massage it to kind of get it moving, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And he would say like most people don't believe they don't know what to do, that they don't have that they always are going to need more information. And um he's like, you don't really need more information. You just need to make a choice.
Yeah.
Um
Yep.
because oftentimes we can kind of lean into indecision because it feels comforting. It's like a way of dodging consequences.
Yep. And then the
Um
decision is just made for you sometimes,
right,
which
right.
is
And
still
then
sort
you
of a decision. Yeah.
right, which is a decision, but it doesn't feel good, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it can take some pressure off because okay, this is already decided, but um again, we're kind of letting go of that choice. He says the two rules about decision hunting: um, a decision doesn't count until you take action, which I think that is really good. Like you can decide, like, okay, this is how I'm going to live my life. This is what I'm going to do. But until you actually make a step towards that, you haven't actually made a decision. Um, and then the second rule is as long as it meets that litmus test, a decision has been made. So that that action doesn't have to be getting the thing accomplished or doing a
Hmm.
huge thing. It can just be a baby step. Um, and I find that comforting.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that's the other, I think that's a good point. And I think he does kind of get into this too, but like, just the idea of you have to like, it's progress, right? Like you're not gonna,
Hmm.
everything is always small things, right? Like small
Yeah.
steps, like, and it's what, I always say small things often to my kids all the time. It's like the
Yeah.
answer to everything in life, I think. But it's just like, if you have a goal, like you have to just kind of chip away at it. You have to put things in motion that are gonna like, you know, make
Yeah.
progress on that goal. Like if, and until you start putting in the reps, right? Like it's, you're not gonna, it's not gonna happen.
Right. Right. Um, he also talks in this chapter about the Robert Frost poem, The Road Not Taken. And
Hmm.
he has this kind of interesting take on it, which is that um, Frost isn't really talking about making the unconventional choice, but reflecting on the fact that we're just always making choices, and those choices are what shape our lives.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
It's so
Um,
true.
this this also, and this is as spiritual as I'll get on today,
Hmm.
but this day also made me think of this poem by the monk Thomas Merton, um, poem, a prayer, and it basically, if you just Google it as like the Thomas Merton prayer, it'll come up, the Merton prayer.
Okay.
Um, and I love this because it kind of speaks right into this. I'm just going to read it to you. I mean, it's a little
Yeah.
long, but I'm just going to read you the beginning of it. It's, my Lord God, I have no idea where I'm going. I do not see the road ahead of me, right? Like, I am not perfect. I have no clue what's happening. I cannot know for certain where it will end, nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think I am following your will does not mean that I'm actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does, in fact, please you. And I hope that having that desire, and I hope I have that desire in all that I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that. And I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road. Um, and so he goes on a little bit longer, but I just love that I don't know what I'm doing, but but I'm but I have this kind of anchor point that I'm geared towards, and I'm just going to keep moving towards what I think is that anchor point, and it might be wrong, but as long as I keep moving in that direction, I'm going to trust that I'm
Yeah.
moving in the right
Yeah.
direction.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
I like that too. Because there have been a lot of times in my life when I've done things and I'm like, I don't know if this is right,
Yeah.
but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And I've leaned into those
Yeah.
words. So I thought
Yeah.
those might be helpful.
Yeah.
All right, day 9. Finish things on the magic of completion. Uh he talks about there being a mysterious energy in finishing things.
Mm, I think that is correct. There is momentum in that for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what he really talks about is um that there's energy in completion, and that what we fear is that by completing something, and this is definitely for us as Enneagram 7s, by completing something it's going to leave us empty. Like, this project is over, oh my god, what am I going to do now? Or, this door has, I've done this door is closed, now what? That we're going to get stuck in like some liminal space where we don't won't know what to do. But actually, completion is energizing.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Um,
Yeah, I feel that in my own, in definitely in my own life, like um whether it's work or something that's like around the house or even just like getting a workout in or whatever,
yeah,
like, getting that done, something taken care of is like, okay, I can move through the to the next thing.
yeah,
But I don't know, I always have like on some level like something that I'm like, okay, like once I get through this, then what is going to be the next thing that I'm going to do?
yeah, yeah. Well, that's also definitely, yeah, us. Like, what's next? Um, he talks a lot in this on this day too about the stories we tell ourselves to keep us from finishing things. Like, if we don't finish things, then there's always the possibility that that thing that we envision happening when we complete it is actually going to meet our expectations.
Mm,
And
mm-hmm.
the reality is, right? And again, this is something he always kind of comes back to, is what is real. The reality is that what we've envisioned for whatever the project is, chances are it's not going to look like what we envisioned originally.
Yeah.
Um, he talks about when we start envisioning a project, we look at it from 30,000 feet. And as we get closer and closer, we start seeing the imperfections of the project.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that it becomes harder. And so um, we tend to want to just like let it go and leave it. And I'm definitely, I have a lot of what you call WIPs, works in progress,
Uh-huh.
that
Yeah,
are left
yeah.
unfinished, like in my knitting, all my knitting projects, or I have all these art projects that I've started, or things like that. Because they either they become tedious or they become hard, or but he talks about everything meaningful is hard. But that leaving things that unfinished is what kind of causes our low energy. So we have to redefine what means finished. And that means, again, like what we were just talking about, small deliverables. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what, what is it to finish it? What am I going to finish today?
Yep.
What am I going to finish tomorrow?
It's interesting. Like, I really like working in technology projects in particular, like, really lends itself to this kind of methodology with like how you like half the time you're like, you have kind of a goal of what you're trying to do, but
Yeah.
it is just an everyday like discovery learning, okay, well, that changes what we're doing. Like you
Yeah.
have to be really flexible, open-minded, and like we use the term iterative, right? But it's like
Yeah.
this circle is like it's like a
Yeah.
circle moving forward essentially,
Sure.
but that you just kind of keep going through the process, and then at the end you're like, oh wow, look what we accomplished. But like
Right.
when you're in it, it does not look like A, B, C, D. It doesn't really work that way.
Right.
Um, and so I don't know. I actually that methodology, I've really come to kind of appreciate it, and I see how it actually mimics like how life actually works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel that like when I direct a play, like if I'm actually going to think about like, okay, here's this huge project, here's this huge musical with 40 people and an orchestra and all these different things, and we're going to put this on stage. If I think about just the end goal, I'm screwed. Like I'll
Yeah.
be overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to make a schedule. I have to like chunk it out. I have to have like daily goals, and then those daily goals have to change
Yep.
all the
Yep.
time.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, small deliverables.
I like it.
So he talks about clarifying an outcome that you can do in one sitting and then just working until you reach it. And then each time you end and you kind of get that deliverable, it's going to provide an energy boost for the next. Um, and that is again like this idea of reality, right? We're acting in harmony with reality, which I love that phrase.
Yeah. Yep. I
And
like that. Yeah. Yeah. That's
and
exactly
then
right.
the other part of the energy boost too is then when we work it and we finish that one thing, then we can forget it, right? And then it's forgotten, and then that's less effort. Um, but if we're just looking at the big thing, right, then it's just there's just so much pressure on us. So finish things. That's the message.
That's good. I love it. I love finishing things. It's one of my favorite things to do.
It's one of my favorite things to do. I'm going to finish these fries right now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, day 10. Look for the life. I love this one. I love this one. I love this one. Look for the life task. What reality wants.
Mm,
This is so good. And this is again, right? This idea of finitude, of reality, of how to move into life rather than avoiding it, how to move forward into life rather than avoiding it. And the question is like, what is your essential life task? Not like, what is your destiny? What is your overall goal? But like, what is your life asking you to do right now?
yeah.
Um, and not what do you want, but what does your life want? And this is a Jungian term, and he talks about Jung a lot in this chapter. Um, but this idea that there's two things that it's kind of an intuitive process by which we figure out what our life task is, and that it's only done by effort and difficulty, but it's good difficulty that pushes against our comfort and enlarges us rather than just brings us happiness, which I love
Yeah.
that distinction.
Mm-hmm.
And then that a true life task is something that you can actually do. Again, this idea of harmony with reality. It's in line with our resources, with our limitations, and it emerges from our life circumstances. I had a friend message me after she read the first week,
Yeah.
and she was like, "This is great. This is awesome, but it's so." She's like, "That's so dark." She's like, "I
Yeah.
want to be able
Yeah.
to do more." And she's like, "But what about the Taylor Swifts and the Bonos? Like they get all these things done. Like, why can't I get all these things done?" And I was like, "Well."
They have a team of people working for them and they
Well, they
have
have a team of
billions of
people.
dollars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But just to get there too,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we have different resources. We have different talents. We have different capacities. You
Yeah.
know,
The
I
life
am
task.
for your life task. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I am a firm believer that we really rise to the level of our nervous systems. We don't,
Mm.
right? We like my nervous system can't do everything. So I'm not going to be Taylor Swift because uh, for a lot of obvious reasons, I'm not going to be Taylor Swift. But one of those reasons is because my nervous system would never
Just
allow
can't
me to go
handle it.
there. Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I do think that yeah, that like I feel like I do a pretty good job with this. Like things that like push me, that but that are achievable,
Yep.
that are difficult, but that I know are gonna make me grow and learn. And I mean that's part of like why I like went back to business school is just because I knew
Yeah.
that it would and I mean, I like the structure of
Yeah.
getting things done. Actually, that like something like that provides because it's like, here's a project. Complete the project. Like, what did you learn from the project? I mean,
Yeah.
and it's and then sometimes you're like, oh God, I have to go do this thing. But then after you're done, you're like, that was great, and
Yeah.
so anyway, I get pretty excited about
So
that kind of stuff.
would you say that's your life task right now? Is this?
So I mean, I think of that is like a piece, right? That's a
Yeah.
piece. I think that like my life task right now is trying to figure out like how I can best contribute as a provider in my family,
Mm-hmm.
I think that if I as much as I can, my um my spouse is the breadwinner, but her job is really hard. It's like hard hours. It's very hard emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
psychologically, and so the more I am able to like just you know increase my value professionally,
Mm-hmm.
the less pressure is on her to just because I mean she does shift work, right? So it's like
Yeah.
um she just gets to work less.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a big, I think, like, and then also just to know that I can do it too. Like I think for
Yeah.
myself also, like I'm having fun. So, I'm enjoying the process and learning. So I mean, I think it's just like kind of all in that professional context, but also like um,
Within the
being
context
able,
of your family
yeah,
and
yeah.
and what
So
and the value it brings to your family. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
personally, I mean, I would be lying if I said
Sure.
like that it's not also like there isn't certainly an element of ego, right? There's a certain element of like, yeah, I can like step into this environment and be successful and like learn the things I need to learn and grow and, like take on
Sure.
challenges that are a little scary, but then you get through it and you're like, okay, I learned a lot and I'm going to be able to do a better job every time that, so it's all just it actually this really, you know, kind of hones in on that growth mindset,
Yep.
which is the like, okay, what is the thing that is challenging? It's a stretch. It's not overwhelming, but
Yep.
like it's absolutely achievable.
Yep.
And yeah, so I don't know. I think that like, kind of all those things together are kind of right now where like that's kind of my life task, I
Yeah.
think at this moment in time.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a ton of fun. Like I
Yeah.
got really I was texting Lauren today because I got my midterm back and I got like a good grade on it and it was a really fun. I think I told you about it. It was this simulation that I had to
Oh
do. You
yeah.
have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
run this business and it was I anyway I did a really bad job the first time and then I got really good at it and it was a really fun experience. So
Well, sorry. Keep going. Keep going.
oh no, I was just saying so it's like the material has been phenomenal. My professors are amazing and I mean, I think from a teaching standpoint, the thing that I always love about a teacher is, they're sort of like somebody that you sort of look at and you're like, I could be like that. That's really like the
Mm,
best. And actually, where I got that line is from the author and MIT professor Sherry Turkle in her book Reclaiming
uh,
Conversation. And this is what she's wrote a book that sort of was like pushing back against the like one-to-one, technology in every classroom, like
yeah.
that, there's something very personal that is happening in an academic space, and it's part of like the inspiration of seeing like I could carry myself that way. I could
Yeah.
learn in the same manner, right?
Yeah.
Like a modeling. And also, guess what? I get to meet Sherry Turkle tomorrow. I am talking to
What?
her for an hour.
Shut up. How's the where?
It's on Zoom, so she's I'll see if she wants to come on the show. I'll ask, but
Yeah.
I think she's working on a new book, but it's about AI, and so she wants to talk to people that work in technology that are working with AI. And then also she's really interested in parents and how parents are talking to their kids about AI and like what that looks like.
Oh, interesting.
Um, so she's interviewing me for like an hour tomorrow morning.
How did you get this? Like, did this she re
So I wrote her. I always write to people that I when I read their books,
Yeah,
which is um,
I love that.
it's the best. And actually, I learned even now I'm going to do something even different than I was doing before because before I would just try to like find them on LinkedIn, or if I could find their email somewhere on their website. Some people, if they're not that famous, you can find their emails sometimes. Um, but oh my gosh, so many people will write you back. Like
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times they'll write you back. And so anyway, so I wrote her, and so then have been connected on LinkedIn, and then she's like soliciting, like if you are in these sectors, like
Okay.
we're interested, and like there was a link to apply, and then one of her assistants, like a TA or whatever, reached out and said, if you're willing to do it, we'd love to talk to you. So like send me your times, and so and
That's amazing.
this is what works for Sherry.
This is what works for Sherry. Guess what? It works for me too.
Uh-huh. I was like, I'll make some time.
That's
So
awesome.
I
Oh,
know.
very cool.
Yep.
We'll enjoy that. And yeah, get her on the podcast.
I know. Yeah, we should talk about that book. That would be a great book for us to talk about, that Reclaiming Conversation book.
Yeah. 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 All right. Well, let's keep going with week 2. Day
So,
11. Just go to the shed, befriending what we fear. Uh, and I'm not sure. Yeah, I think that's the title. He talks about the idea that in the shed are these rats, and the rats are our fear. Um, and this is also a good one for us because we're avoiders.
mm,
But so much of our life is shaped by what we are actively trying to avoid. Um,
yeah.
I used to do this all the time. I used to be scared about my bank balance like being overdrawn. So I would just avoid checking my bank account, and it would be
Yeah.
terrible. And then of course I would get overdrawn because I wouldn't be checking it. And it was so dumb, right? So, but but then actually, this is just a little side note. There was this app. Um, I don't have it anymore, but there, like this app that it just kind of, like checks your bank balances and like measures like where it goes. And then it just draws little bits of money to kind of keep a separate savings account for you. So it
Oh,
saves money
cool.
for you. And there's lots of different things. I think your bank will actually do that for you now. But the reason I did it wasn't even because of the savings, but it was because every single morning this app would message me my bank balance. And every morning it was just
Um,
like, hola, or it would just like greet me with a different language every morning. And then it would tell me my bank balance. So I didn't have to go and check it. It just came to me, and it helps me not be afraid anymore.
it's like exposure
It
therapy.
was exposure therapy, but
Yeah.
and I kept it for years just to kind of have that service, so I wouldn't have to avoid checking my bank account.
Yeah,
But a lot
it's
of people,
interesting.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people avoid going to the doctor,
Oh, yeah.
um, or avoid email because they're scared of, or opening bills, all kinds of things, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of public speaking now, but I used to be really scared of like, I mean, my like physiology, right?
yeah,
When I was a teacher for like the first few years I was a teacher, oh my God, I would have like pit sweat and like
Yeah.
just be like I was so out of control, nervous every day. I was like my nervous system was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Um and then I mean it took literally years. Literally years for that to go to like go
Well,
away.
that's one of the scariest thing people say. It's like scarier than, I don't know. Lot, I mean, most frightening things,
Yeah, I
right?
actually wondered if that, like, you know how there's that statistic that like most people quit teaching within 5 years of
Oh
doing
yeah.
it. I actually wondered if that was a big part of it. Like if they just never got through the wall of like that fear.
Being, yeah. That's interesting. That would be very interesting. I bet there's statistics on why people
I mean, it's
leave,
also like the pay and
crap pay and all that.
being
Yeah.
treated poorly, you know.
Yeah. Um yeah. So yeah, but you didn't avoid it. You kept
No,
going.
I kept doing it. And then like I don't know, I've just always even if I mean I still like if I'm in a have to speak to an audience that's a bigger audience, it's still I still get nervous. But
Sure.
usually once you just start, like once you get
Yeah.
in a couple minutes in, especially if you know what you're talking about and you've practiced and you know, you'll just it just kind of all clicks together. And then
Yep.
when you're done, you feel great.
Yeah. You're riddled with dopamine.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it dopamine or is it I would actually think it would just be endorphins, right?
Endorphins. Yeah. Probably
More so?
endorphins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I, um, right before, like, I've, been acting for years, but even, it doesn't even matter. Anything I'm doing, it's like right before I go on stage, it's like my heart just wants to like burst out of my chest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you walk on stage and it has to go away. But when it
Yeah.
doesn't, there are times when it hasn't. And you
Yikes.
kind of get this like, and you're doing the thing and you're scared. And that's when it gets scary because you're kind of having this little out of body experience and you're kind of watching yourself do it and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? But you have to kind of pull yourself back in. But yeah, scary things. And I always do tell my students, I'm like, you do really scary things, and it's really good to do really scary things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yep.
is really good.
Yeah, it's
Um,
character building.
for sure. Um, so he talks in this about not not avoiding and not anticipating that we're no longer going to be like brave, and it's like not that we're not going to be brave but that we're not going to be afraid. Like there's never going to be a day that I'm not afraid to go on stage, even though it's what I've done all
Mm,
my life. I'm
yeah.
always going to be afraid, but what you have to do is kind of befriend the fear. So that's just go to the shed, right? um and you can learn more about that metaphor when you read the chapter. um but he talks about like forging a relationship with your fear, maybe starting by just closing your eyes and visualizing yourself going to the fear, knowing that it's already part of our reality. Like there's no backing down. Like it's just part of what's happening. So we have to turn it into an unobjectionable part of our reality. Um, so then the rat in the shed becomes kind of the sheep. It's kind of more docile. And it's still something we have to like interact with, um but
Yeah,
it's
it's
no
not so
longer,
scary.
it's not so scary. Yeah. So then he talks about like what would you be, and this is such a great anecdote. He's like, what would you be truly willing to do in order to face some fear inducing challenge in your life? And he talks about this woman who's writing her dissertation, and like a lot of people writing their dissertations, it's just overwhelming. The project is overwhelming. So it becomes this huge fear, right? And so somebody was like, what would you be willing to do? Would you be willing to work 3 hours a day? And she's like, 3 hours a day? No way. I cannot do that. And they're like, 2 hours a day? She's like, nope. They're like, how about an hour a day? She's like, I don't think so. Somebody was like, 15 minutes. She was like, yeah, I could do that. I could do 15 minutes a day
15
working on my
minutes.
dissertation. And so that's what she did. And she actually got it done.
That's
So
incredible. Yeah.
and he says, like, even though that's a gentle strategy, it's not submissive. You're still saying you're afraid, but you're still saying, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you're willing to admit that things are as they are, and you're going to move forward into that fear.
Yep.
Have you ever have like what's the thing that you feel like, do you have an example
Mm.
of that in your life?
Mm, you know, oh gosh. I mean, I would love to spend more time on like writing, like personal writing,
Mm-hmm.
exercises. I just don't really have the time, you know?
Yeah,
And I mean, maybe if I think I've just decided to prioritize other
sure.
things. Like I think at the end of the day, like, you got the two paths, right? And you have to like make a
You
choice.
have to make a choice.
And so
But are you really afraid of anything, Erin? Is there anything, what are you
um
afraid of?
what am I afraid of? I don't know. I don't know.
I know. I'm trying to think about, like, I'm afraid of a lot of things, but well, like you said, you were afraid of public speaking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's the one thing that I can like say I mean
Yeah.
for sure is something that I'm really afraid of. I think at the same like I mean the worst things are like obviously like
R-
the things that are like the horrible things that could
right.
happen to the people that you love, right? Like those are the like the really scary things that I
Right.
guess on some level that I'm afraid of. I mean, I'm not afraid of like death or dying.
Hmm.
Um like I mean I don't want to die. I
Sure.
wouldn't choose it, but but like I feel like I have lived a lot of life. Like
Yeah.
if I died tomorrow, like I've done a lot, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and I think I've had the opportunity to had almost all the experiences that I've wanted to have, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been a grandparent. That would be cool. Like I'd love to see my kids get married. You know what I mean? Like there are
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
sorts of things that I
So do
wouldn't
you think that that kind of confronting that, like, that big fear kind of minimizes all those little fears, like public speaking, or, you know, doing an MBA program, or writing that novel, or, running a marathon, like those fears of doing hard things. Do you think those fears are minimized because of
Yeah, I
confronting
guess
that kind of mortality? We're getting deep and
yeah, I mean, I think that that is helpful. Like I mean, this is something that obviously Oliver is big on, is that
yeah,
um that finitude, knowing that things are final, does give you a certain kind of agency, right?
yeah,
Like in a way to kind of decide what you're going to do. What are you going to spend time on? Like you only have so much time. What are the inputs going to be, you know?
right,
Um so, I mean, I think that it is kind of a superpower, like
yeah,
to have that. I mean, I also think like I've had a lot of different challenges throughout the course of my life that have been difficult, like everybody does, and
yeah,
I try to, you know, there's worse things that could happen, right? And I mean,
yeah,
like that. I guess that's the way that I think a lot of people are afraid of failing,
yeah,
right? And maybe that's the barrier to a lot of these things that people can't get through is that they're afraid of failing. And I look at failure as an an opportunity to learn.
yeah,
And so then it's not so scary.
right,
Like, well,
right,
that didn't work out. Well, lots of things don't work out.
Right. Right,
you
right,
know?
right, right. And when you have an opportunity to fail, then as you're moving forward, you can, and you get through it, you can look back and be like, well, I'm not afraid because this happened in the past and you know, I I'm still here.
Yep.
And, so reflecting
Yeah.
on
And I'm
kind
alive
of,
and life is good. I mean,
yeah, right.
yeah.
Right. All right. Let's move. We have 3 more days. Day
Okay.
12, rules that serve life on doing things daily-ish. And he talks here about Seinfeld. I guess he interviewed Seinfeld and talked about like what is your trick for writing your jokes and being really productive in writing your jokes. And or maybe he had read this somewhere, but I guess Seinfeld at one point said, I write jokes daily and I just put a big red X on the calendar every day, every time I do it. And then actually what he said is he's like, I must have just said that at some point. He goes, I don't write jokes daily.
Yeah.
I do I do it daily-ish, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so kind of that rule of, again, that idea of perfectionism, like if we want to get good at something or if we want to be productive, we have to do it every day. And really the rule should be we should do it more days than not,
Yep.
and sacrifice our expectation of perfection. And that doesn't mean just like doing it whenever we feel like it, but if we expect to be perfect, then we kind of have this rule, like I'm going to do this every day, then we're expecting this rule to kind of force our action, and it takes away the responsibility of our moment to moment work of having to like struggle to do things daily-ish and be consistent in doing things. So we can't really outsource that to a rule. Um, I there was a when Bill and I had first gotten married, we have a friend. Bill is Bill's friend. She was like a college softball pitcher. She was like in a really, I don't know if she was like Division 1 or what, Division 3, or I don't remember even what the good one is. Um, but her dad was her coach for years, and he was doing a project on her house, and so I got to know him pretty well. And he was like a retired school principal, so he gave me all these like little bits of wisdom as like we would be eating lunch
Yeah.
and stuff. And one of the things he said, the way I trained her, he said she could take a day off, but she could never take a day off, 2 days off in a row. And I was
Yep.
like, that's a good, that's a
I
good
like that.
quote unquote rule, right? It's not like that's a daily-ish rule. Yeah. So I've thought about that a lot. I'm still not good at even doing that, but
It's this when I read this chapter, the whole time I was like, small things often. It's
right.
it's just that. And it's often. It's like not
Often.
necessarily
It
every
has
day,
to be, but
but
it
it
has to be
has to
often.
be often, right? So,
Yeah.
and that is true. It doesn't matter if it's like you want to have a good relationship with your spouse, you want to do good, do a good job at work, you want to learn a language, you want to run a
Hmm.
marathon, you want to write a book, whatever it is small things often. And if
Yep.
you do that, you will meet your goal eventually.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that the goal that it's also about the process. Like that's the other part, right? And that some things are always ongoing. And I know that he's talking about like the power of finishing things, and there's a lot of things to sort of to finish, right? But then there are certain things that are just this is like it's for your whole life.
Yeah. It's never going to be finished.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just a practice, and I'm going to do this practice daily
Daily-ish.
ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He talks about the rules of Saint Benedict. Saint Benedict is one of the kind of first monks to establish a monastic order. Um, and that at first, Saint Benedict, the rules were really rigid, and and then they changed because they realized these were unsustainable. And so the rule of Saint Benedict became more of a model of moderation, um, and that you needed to balance order with like individual choice and agency. And that the rules should really serve our life rather than our life serving rules. Um, that's why I'm a fan of Saint Benedict.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Because I am one of those people that like I know there are people who like if you're dieting or whatever, they're like, I need to cut this out of my diet completely. As soon as you tell me I can't have something,
I know.
I want it all the time.
I
I am that
know.
person. So
I
I
know.
have to live within in moderation because I'm not somebody who can be told you can't have it.
Yeah.
I just
I
can't.
feel that. I totally feel that. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, and this is just the like, this is kind of a little bit off topic, but just related to like, um, trying to make good choices from like a
Yeah,
food
yeah.
standpoint. I will like, there are times where I will just be like, I cannot take a bite of whatever it is because I know if I like, you know what I mean? It's like the chips at the table.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like as soon as you eat the one chip, you're like, I want a million chips, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you just don't do it at
Well, see,
all, then
then maybe
I
you're
know.
somebody who needs to cut it out. But see,
Yeah.
I'm the person that says
But I want the chips
I can just have
sometimes.
one chip. I can just have one chip.
You
I
can.
mean, I don't usually. But
Yeah.
I will guarantee you, if I come to your house and I'm like, no, I'm not going to have any chips, I will go home that night and I will eat an entire bag of chips, maybe two.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
We just need to know who we are.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, rules to serve you,
Serve
right?
life. Yep.
Yeah.
So day 13, and this also goes with
Mm,
that idea of like small things often, but
yeah.
this is a little bit more prescriptive. I mean, it's definitely aspirational, but so
I
day
know.
13, yeah,
Yeah,
aspiration.
this is good. I do actually, and I think that he is probably right about this. That
Oh,
if
100%.
you actually could just like remove distractions and focus for 3 hours at a time, like a day in the
Yeah.
morning, it would be like
Yeah, you can
I
get a
yeah.
ton accomplished.
Oh my
So
gosh.
this is 3 hours on finding focus in the chaos. So what could you produce if you actually just worked for 3.5 hours a day? And he lists in this chapter like all of these people, these creative people who have accomplished amazing things and a prolific amount of work just by basically working between 3 and 4 hours a day. And I'll tell you what, after the pandemic and work, the 9 to 5 became a little bit fuzzier. People were
Mm-hmm.
working from home. People were, businesses realized that you could be more flexible. I have a lot of friends who probably only work 3.5 hours now. And it's like they get everything done. And they're like,
Yep.
why should I just twiddle my thumbs? You know?
I know. I know.
I
Yep.
get everything I need to get done, and just by working this really sustained, focused
Yeah. I find that the
amount of
hardest
time.
thing is the uninterrupted. Like at least
Yeah,
in, like especially, I mean, you got a busy house or a busy office
sure.
or whatever, like that is a dream. To me, the idea of like I could go in a room and close my door for 3 hours or four
Yep,
hours and like that could be protected in some way,
yep.
that would be amazing. Yeah.
Well, because I think that is the biggest stress on people. I know for Bill, he's a programmer, and
Mm-hmm.
so he's doing programming, but then he's also like answering help desk things and solving people's problems. And it's like it's that interrupted thing that is really the cause of a ton of stress in people's work lives
Yep. 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 Like the ping to be like, and I mean,
and
part of it's
shifting
just,
focus.
yeah, yeah. You're like, okay, I'm working on this thing for 30 minutes and now I've got this meeting and then I go back to this other thing
Yep.
and it takes you, 5 to 10 minutes to even just sort of like reorient your mind of like, okay, what was I doing? where was I? Am I, like to
Yeah,
kind of just try to get back into that flow. And then, I mean, I know that it's not even, it takes you like a long time to kind of get into a flow state, which is kind of what he's describing, right? Is like
right.
blocking off enough time that you can actually get into a flow state. And man, oh man, like that's so productive when you can actually get into that kind of zone,
Yeah.
but it's so hard to achieve it.
And I would say, I don't even know if you need to get into a flow state. I think just being in that space where you're um energized and engaged, like that time, whatever that time is for you, whether that's the morning, whether that's evening, like what time you're most effective, and just having that uninterrupted time. The other thing that he talks about in this too is that when you're talking about creative work, and he's talking about knowledge workers here, obviously, um, but when he's but he said that creativity actually happens in those other time, in the rest of the day, not those 3 to 4 hours, when we're not focused, when our minds can wander, when we can walk outside, when we can be with friends, when we can be in conversation. And so part of what makes that 3.5 hours really productive is having the rest of that time when our brains can really be free to wander.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. Yeah, to make associations that you wouldn't have thought of, and for sure, for sure. Yeah. No, that's where a lot of that creativity absolutely is stems from, is like, and actually I think that's one of the biggest ways that humans sort of the like AI is coming from your job for your job sort of
Hmm.
thing, but it's like, you know, that humans can sort of have this like can have this ability to sort of see things from um a new perspective, like taking something that doesn't seem like it would apply, but to apply it to a different
Yep.
category or whatever, and then you have this really creative solution. That's something that um is going to be a skill set that's still really in demand, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully, in the positive side of AI, if AI allows us to shrink a work day so that we can accomplish things in 3.5 hours, then maybe there is more creative space for people to let their brains be free of just the rigor of like the tedium of work.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Um, he talks about two rules in trying to get this creative work done in 3 to 4 hours. The first is just try. He's like, just try to do it. And the second is don't put much pressure on the rest of the day. Um, he doesn't believe that we have the capacity for the kind of focused work that our Puritan American work ethic has kind of required of us. Um, he said, but when we can let go of our perfectionism and the stories that kind of culture tells us, and kind of limit the hours that we work, if obviously if that's a possibility, um, what that does is that it limits the possibility of hurry, um, and it also allows us, he says, we need to be restful and we need to be in a good mood in order to do good work. He's like, and
Mm,
often when we're looking at like an 8 or 9 hour workday, we kind of have to manage our energy so that we can get through it, and then we're
yep.
not doing our best work, right? And it made me think of like the concept of slow quitting, right? It's like, how much can we get away with not doing during the day, and just like, I refuse to give my energy to this thing that is sucking the life out of me.
Or yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so this is kind of the opposite of slow quitting. It's saying, and I don't think a lot of people can do this 3 hour thing, but I do think this is aspirational, even in terms of like retirement. Like, okay, it's time for me to retire. I'm going to ask my employer, if you like your job, I would like to just work 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I'll
See
tell
what
you
they
what,
say.
yeah, let's let's say I'm just going to do 3 hours a day. Let's think about what's, on my plate for those 3 hours a day. And you tell me what I'm worth after 6 months, because
Yep.
I will tell you that I can probably get as much accomplished as I'm doing right now and better.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? It's a good kind of negotiation tool, right? Um, okay.
Right.
And
Day
I also like
14.
this. I
Oh.
love that he refers to monks all the time. So, the monastery at Christ in the desert in New Mexico, which is actually in the most beautiful place in the world. There's
Oh.
a priest there named Father Simeon, and they have a strict kind of 3 hour, 3.5 hour workday. They make beer there. You can go there, you can stay there, and you can drink their beer.
Love it.
Um, but one of the other monks said, "What do we do? Um, what do we do like when the day is over but the work isn't done?" And the Father Simeon said, "You get over it."
Hmm.
And I love that too. Just this idea of that it's uncomfortable to leave things undone, just like at the end of a day. But
Mm-hmm.
and like I'll say, because my husband doesn't really listen to our podcast, so I'll say this. Um, that is my biggest like thing. Like he will work until he reaches a state of completion. And I know it's because when he comes back the next day, he doesn't want to spend all that time kind of assessing where he comes back. But we have to get comfortable with leaving things undone. Otherwise, we're
Yep.
going to just work our lives away.
Yep. Yep. No, it's true. I mean, that was kind of what I was getting at before. Like, there are certain things that you're just like, I cannot prioritize this right now. Like,
Yes,
I just have, I only have so much time. These are the things I have to focus on, you
we
know?
have to have hard endings. And I was really bad at that when I was younger. Like I would do the same thing. I would keep kids late. Parents would be waiting in the parking lot and I was like, we just have to finish this
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah.
And parents would send me all these angry emails. And as I got older, I was like, screw that. I'm like, we have a hard stop. And
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so okay, last day. I don't know how long this is. I don't know how long we've been talking, but
An hour at least. Okay.
okay, we're okay. Justin will edit. Okay, day 14. Develop a taste for problems. And I feel like this is what you were saying this earlier in the podcast. Develop a taste for problems and on never reaching a trouble-free phase. And that idea that like, right, our failures are and the problems that we face are what give our lives meaning, right? He
Yeah.
talks about this. He starts with Gilda Radner. Why did I say Gilda Harris? Oh, because he talks about Sam Harris too.
Mm,
Gilda Radner says it's always something. And she said that even as she was like dying of cancer, right? We are all always grappling with something.
something. Yeah.
And yet, the story that we tell ourselves is that sometime in the future, our life is going to be a life without problems. And it's just never the case.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so the problem becomes, problem becomes double fold, right? We have the problem at hand, and then we have the problem that there is a problem because we are still not in the place where there are no problems. So
Yep.
we make everything more difficult by assuming there is some like promised land.
There's not. Yeah.
There is not. There is not a promised land. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's just part of the process, right? And it's
yeah,
like, I don't know, as much as you can learn through that process, and if you can't, I mean, sometimes can you even enjoy the process or, but
yeah.
yeah, there's never going to um yeah, it's
I
life
mean,
is there's always there's always going to be things that are difficult,
there's always, and the problems are, you know, you know, I listened to this interview, or I'm about halfway through it. This woman, she's a psychologist, Ellen Langer. She's a psychology professor at Harvard, and she was the first tenured um, female professor at Harvard. And her work is really, really interesting. She's been doing it. She's been there for 50 years. She's 78 years old. She's a piece of work. If you find her online and listen to her, she's very interesting. But she talked about this very thing on this podcast I was listening to, and she was like, problems are only problems if you name them problems. She's like, they are what give our life meaning. She's like, look at golf. Yeah, you want to go in, you want to get a hole in one on every hole. What if you actually got a hole in one on every hole? You wouldn't like golf anymore. Right? I mean, like all those things. And he talks about, look at those things we do for fun, board games and puzzles and, you know, we solve problems. It is a source of joy, of accomplishment. So
Yeah. The
we
hard is
need
what makes it great, right? What is the,
yeah,
remember? Yeah. It's like, if it wasn't hard, everybody would do it. The hard is what
yeah,
makes it great. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. So if I give up the idea that there won't be problems, what Berkman says is then I can give myself over fully into the problem and really work on it, which is the fun part, right?
Yeah.
It's not always fun. I mean, sometimes like Gilda Radner, the problem is something devastating, but
Yeah.
still you're still living life and you still have a chance to
And even in the thing, often, even in the thing that is horrible,
yeah,
there is usually, I mean, it's
joy.
hard. Yeah. Or, like moments to see goodness, good to see
Yes.
connection, to see like the good in other people.
Hmm.
Um, I think that, you know, that's,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's never 100%.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, one of the other things Langer talked about was like they did a study where they were looking at people with chronic illnesses. And what they would do is they would call them randomly throughout the day and they would say, how's the symptom? And um, and then the person would say it's either better or worse or it's this or that. And they would say, okay, and why do you think that is? And just the act of asking that question, of reflecting on their symptom, engaged them, made them more mindful of what they were doing, of what was happening to them, and it lessened. So it's all about, right, how being mindful um, and curious and reflective actually can solve the problem, or at least minimize the problem. Um, and Berkman talks about um, we want to aspire to a life not without problems, but with ever more interesting and absorbing problems. And that's the idea of being absorbed, not in a like obsessive way, but of like, oh, this is something to be tackled. Um, and that our jobs are usually problems, and that our contributions are solving them. So, lots of good wisdom here.
Oh, yeah. I love it. It's good stuff. Oliver Berkman, he's I would say he was a national treasure, but he's British. So
Yeah,
he's a national treasure to the United Kingdom, I guess.
the Brits. Yeah, yeah. Get that pin, Sir Oliver Berkman. I don't know if that's a terrible to say that. I don't know if he's not a like knock on wood. Yeah. So this was great,
Thanks for
and
guiding, yeah, leading the discussion. I
sure,
appreciate it.
sure. And so in 2 weeks we'll be back with week 3. We're halfway done. It is just a little book with lots chock full of lots of big wisdom.
Yep. Yeah. Each one of these days, if you're, if you haven't been following along, if and you're interested in getting the book, it's, each chapter is, you know, 3 to 7 pages or something. I mean, they're
Yeah,
really short. So
very short. So yeah,
you can do it.
you can do it. You can do it. Small things often.
Yep.
You don't even have to do it daily.
ish.
You can read daily-ish. You can read 2 chapters in one day. If you don't finish the week, don't worry. Still come listen.
Yep. It's good. Awesome. Thanks,
right,
Kelley.
buddy.
Later. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Atheist. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with a friend. We really appreciate our listeners. It's because of you we keep growing and connecting with new people.
We always love hearing from our listeners. Get in touch with us at atheistpodcast.com, follow us on our socials, or leave a comment on this episode.
Atheist is produced by Justin Sywell of STL Podcasts.
Thank you for listening, and keep looking for connection.